Welcome to this introductory episode of Heartful Communication. Let's start with a small experiment. Imagine you have submitted a project or assignment for review and you get this response.
What rubbish is this?
How would you feel? Not particularly happy, I'm guessing. You may even get angry, curse under your breath. Now imagine if the same person said this.
Actually, I had something else in mind.
That's not so bad, is it? Even though, in both cases, the report hasn't met expectations. Communication, both verbal and non-verbal, plays a crucial role in every sphere of life, be it relationships, work, or personal growth. Our behavior, the choice of words, and the manner in which we speak hold profound significance and often dictate the success or failure of our endeavors.
Language creates our reality. We think in language. We're creating our world by what we think, and we're using language to do that thinking. Hafiz said, the words that you speak become the house that you live in.
Heartful Communication, or HC, is a program run by the Heartfulness Institute with the intention of helping people communicate in a way that is beneficial for them and those around them. Thousands from across the world have taken this program online or in person and have been amazed by the changes they are able to perceive in their interactions. It is literally like seeing the world with a new lens. Heartful Communication is informed by Nonviolent Communication, or NVC, that was developed by American psychologist Dr. Marshall Rosenberg in the 1960s. The principles of NVC are complemented by Heartfulness, a heart-centered meditation technique based on an ancient Indian practice for the evolution of consciousness. Liz Kingsnorth, the director of the Heartful Communication program, has worked in communication and conflict resolution for over 40 years. She has helped corporate teams, students, troubled teenagers, prison inmates, and even a small group of Israelis and Palestinians to look beyond their differences and work together. She is a certified nonviolent communication and heartfulness trainer. Together with a dedicated team of volunteers, she has created multiple HC offerings to suit all needs. In this introductory episode, Liz is going to talk about one of the core foundations of heartful communication: needs consciousness.
Because in heartful communication, what we are focusing on is the quality of connection between myself and myself and another. It's helpful if we can find what we have in common that can connect us rather than what divides us. So with the consciousness in heartful communication, we focus not on behaviors, not on what people are doing and what they're saying, because that's where we don't agree with things, that's where people argue. It's actually where people are in conflict, is at that level of action, behavior, words, and so forth. What we focus on is something which we call needs consciousness. That is, what is it that somebody is trying to fulfill, what need, what value, what motivation is there that they're trying to fulfill when they say what they say and when they do what they do. So, for example, if you take bullying, what we call bullying behavior. So if we see somebody who's behaving in such a way that we would say that's bullying, then immediately probably an opinion comes up. An opinion will come, a judgment will come. In other words, our attention is then focused on the behavior, and then we're in that whole idea of I like it, I don't like it, it's good, it's bad, what can I do about it? We're up we're up here. Whereas if we want to try to understand ourselves, other people, understand human behavior at a much deeper level, we could say at the level of the heart, then we shift our focus away from the behavior and say, let me try to sense into, feel into, understand what might be the need that that person is trying to fulfill when they do this kind of behavior, which is dominating behavior. It might be aggressive, it might be triggering pain in the other person in some way. So I want to be very clear that we certainly don't have to like or agree with what the person is doing or saying, not at all, because that's the level of, the strategies, and we have a preferred way of doing something to try to get that need met. But if we focus on what might be the longing of that person, and when you get to know people who, use bullying behavior, what you usually find is that they're longing for some kind of recognition, some kind of self-esteem, some sense of I'm significant, I'm powerful, I am somebody. It might be that they need some appreciation. It might be that they're doing this in order to have a sense of belonging, with a group of some kind. In other words, those belonging, recognition, appreciation, esteem, significance, power, all those things we would say are human needs. They're motivators. In some ways, often they're like longings that people long to fulfill. People long to have often a sense of recognition. If they have not had that, and as we know, most people who are using bullying behavior have been bullied in some way or another. They're hurt. The other need that is in there often is the need to be understood for perhaps the pain that they have endured themselves. So when we shift our focus and try to feel into what we'd say those needs are like motivators for human behavior. They're like values. There's something that matters to somebody, something that is important to somebody. And they're all part of the life force, actually. It's like the life force that is trying to always come to fulfillment and is always moving us towards well-being. So all those needs and values at their deepest level actually contribute to life. So if somebody might say, oh, he's got a need for revenge. Now we would say that's not a need. That's a choice of action, whether it's conscious or not conscious, that it's a strategy to try to get a much deeper need met. So when somebody wants to have revenge on somebody else, almost always, of course, because there's been some deep hurt of some kind, some trauma that's happened with them, and that need for revenge, so-called, has a deeper need of, I just long to be understood for what I have suffered. Let the other person experience this too, then they'll know the pain that I have suffered. It might also be a longing for justice, for some kind of, equality in the situation. You see what I mean? So we would say revenge is not a need. It's still at the level of action, of a choice. So when I say choice of action, sometimes those choices we make very consciously, that I'm going to do like this, I'm going to say like this, but often they're not conscious at all. They're the result of our conditioning, of our patterning, of our history, of all those influences, social influences, our culture and so forth, that have led us to having certain patterns of behavior. And so, but these needs, the need for security, for belonging, for love, for appreciation, for support, for meaning, for purpose. There's so many of these. These are all motivators. And because all human beings share them, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what culture you're from, where you are in history, all human beings share these deep values, these deep needs, the need to contribute to others. That's, I think, one of the deepest human needs. But because we share them, they offer us like a kind of field where we can connect. So, and there's a lovely quote from Rumi, which says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing. In other words, our thinking, our judgments, that's right, that's wrong, that's good, that's bad, you're better, you're worse, that's normal, that's abnormal. Beyond that way of thinking, or deeper, you could say, he says there's a field. That is the field of that different consciousness that says, I can meet you in that field. In other words, what we share as human beings.